In this exercise, we're going to be discussing creating work planes. Work planes are part of a larger group called work features. In Inventor, you'll notice there's a tool palette called work features that covers work planes, axes, and points. If you start a new part and you go to new sketch, it'll automatically give you the origin planes. It's your YZ, XZ, and XY planes that Inventor's pre-programmed with. This is what we start from. I always said in AutoCAD it had to know where the North Pole was, but Inventor doesn't care. AutoCAD, you had this 0, 0 imaginary point that everything had to go back to. Inventor does have kind of this origin point, but it doesn't really necessarily have to use it, and it's not based on anything else. It understands the relationships between one part to another, or from one feature to another inside of a part. You can never delete the origin planes or the default work features. They're always there, but you can turn them on and off. Just right click on them. Once we select them, if you want to turn them back on, they default off, and that's good most of the time. You need a plane to create a new sketch on, or you need a plane to do something else with, but you don't necessarily need a plane to be on all the time. So let's take a look at some of the options with these planes. Here's an example of a problem you may have with a plane. I have this extrusion here that I want to get into this part, but I don't want it to affect the center part. So what I can do is I can turn on my center plane. I can use the mirror command and mirror through that center. And now I have that hole in both sides, but not in the center of the part. So let's take a look at adding work planes to other parts. In this part, for example, the work plane isn't down the center. But what if you need it down the center? Inventor gives you some training wheels. All of these options under work planes are all created from the same basic tool, but they've given you some helpful hints to give you some ideas. So if you say mid-plane between two parallel planes, basically what you do is you click on the outside there, and it puts it down the center. And everywhere you pick, it's going to create a plane. So if I pick this plane here, and I pick the outside face, puts it down the center. This one I pick the center plane, and then I pick this inside face, and it put down the center of that. So therefore, we get a center plane. We can turn those off. We can take a look at some of these other options that we have. We can say offset, which we've already seen when we created an offset sketch. It's automatically creating that plane. You just click on the face and pull it out without letting go of your mouse button. So you click and hold down your left button and pull it out away from the face, and that'll create that plane. As soon as you pull it out away from the face, you can let go of your mouse button and it'll let you type in a distance. So now we have that plane there. Another option is you could go through a point. So if we had a point out here in space, you go through the midpoint of a torus. You can do angle around an edge. So what I do is I pick on that edge first, then I pick on a flat face. I can type in an angle, and now I have a nice 45-degree plane on here. I always say this looks like a skateboarder riding a rail down through here. If you're going to ride down a pipe and use a skateboard, you're going to need some kind of angle like this to do it. The next option is the ability to use 3 points. So you click on an edge here, click on an edge here, click on an edge here. So now you get this very odd angle. Doesn't really matter what 3 points I pick on. It will create a plane at whatever angle that is. So you can get very creative with this and create some very unique angles. Here's one where I can say, I want it to be parallel to this plane, but tangent to this hole. So now it's parallel on this plane and tangent to this round surface. Switch over to this other part here, and I choose tangent to surface through edge. Basically, I could pick on the outside surface of this. If I choose the origin plane here, it'll kind of be like a reference plane, and then I click on the outside there, and it'll create a plane tangent to that part. If I were to have a point somewhere on here, so if I create a point, say right here on this edge, I can come down here and I could say tangent through that point. So wherever that point is, it's going to try to make it tangent. I also can say normal axis through a point. And it's better if I come over here and look at this one. I say normal axis through a point. Pick here. Then I could come up here and find another point. So like the end of this line. And basically what that's going to be is perpendicular to that line. So you can see there's a lot of really unique ways you can create a plane. You can get very creative. With planes, you're always going to have to be creating them at odd angles and odd directions based on your geometry. So play with it. You can be very powerful. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be axes and points. And so we'll get even more creative with planes because we'll be able to combine the two together and use work axes and work planes together. Play with this a little bit, take a look at it, see how well it works for you, and we'll take a look at work axes next.